Welcome into Falcons Today by Chat Sports. Matthew Peterson here to recap Atlanta's 23-20 win over the Cleveland Browns and improving the Falcons to 2-2 on the season. Technically a comeback win. This game was full of lead changes back and forth, but the Falcons give their fans something to watch and something to celebrate today. So we're going to go through this game. We're going to run through some of the stats and whatnot as the Marcus Mariota-led Falcons put up 23 points. Mariota didn't necessarily have a fantastic day, but he didn't really have to. His ground game in the second half, and we'll look at some stats in closer bit, was great in the second half. After finding no traction in the first half, they rushed for nearly 200 yards in the second half. That was a huge pillar for this Falcons victory. Now, what is your performance stemming from this game right now? If you had to grade the Falcons, what grade would you give it? It's always tough to be too critical for a team after a win. I think the Falcons probably get a B+, A-. I mean, it wasn't all pretty at times. Marcus Mariota, not to try and bash on the winning QB today, he didn't make some spectacular throws, but he also wasn't asked to throw the football a lot, only 19 times. That was actually, I think, an NFL record. 7 completions in a win. Think about that. 7 completions in a win. Now, the Falcons in the second half, they were just baiting the Browns to try and stop the run, and Cleveland couldn't do it. The Falcons drove down the field, even without Cordarrelle Patterson, for crying out loud. They were just moving themselves down the field. Patterson was questionable coming into this game. He scored an early touchdown after a forced fumble from the Browns tight end, and he cashed it in for 6. But in the second half, they didn't need Patterson. They leaned on the rookie, Tyler Algier, and someone that I think your average fan watching today had never even heard of, Caleb Huntley, who was just ripping off long run after long run. Algier, 10 carries, 84 yards, a 42-yard dash, his longest. Big rookie performance for him, especially because week 1, he was inactive, but this running back room went through some breakups and some injuries. Damian Williams going down in the injury report. But Algier, the big run, and then Caleb Huntley, the guy who maybe deserving of the game ball just because he didn't come into this game on Sunday thinking, I'm going to pound the rock for 5.6 yards a carry and a touchdown. But ultimately, the Falcons baited the Browns to try and stop their ground game in the second half. And Cleveland, they had no response, right? They had no answer for this second half, just absolute ground blitz by the Falcons, where the Browns were left hands on hips, trying to find a way to get a stop. And we go back to Mariota, who only threw the ball 19 times, 7 completions. You look at the stats and you never watch the snap of the game, you think, oh, he had an awful game. Falcons didn't ask him to do all that much, right? Denzel Ward came with a nice interception. I don't think that was necessarily on Mariota. It was just a better play by the DB. Drake London and Kyle Pitts, a little dormant, a little quiet today. But they did not need to go to them in the second half, right? This ground game was just way too productive to go away from. Now, we'll get to more stats in just a second. But if you are looking for an Atlanta Falcons YouTube channel to get you up to date on the Dirty Birds, make sure you click that big red button and subscribe. I know a lot of you guys are asking, where's Thomas Mott? Where's Thomas Mott? He's on to greener pastures after departing Chat Sports. So Matthew Peterson and a handful of other Chat Sports hosts filling in here. And hey, if we get enough subscribers, that might be enough to nudge the bosses to get a full-time Falcons Today host here at Chat Sports as we kind of rotate around a little bit and do our best to get you guys up to date on everything related to ATL. All right, let's look at some stats here from the game, starting with the Browns, who I think on paper probably had a better box score day, right, which doesn't really amount to all that much at the end. Total yards, 403. Jacoby Brissett passed for 226. No touchdowns, a costly interception for Cleveland at the end, but it secured the win for Atlanta. On the ground, the Browns went for 177 yards, third down, Atlanta was effective, limiting the Cleveland Browns to just 5 third-down conversions on 14 attempts. The Browns also shot themselves in the foot a fair bit amount. 7 penalties for 51 yards. Okay, now, we can also pull up the Falcons stats here and show you what they were able to do today. Producer Nick Roloff, first time on the ones and twos. Give it up for Nick in the chat right now. 333 yards overall, 131 on the ground, 202 overall, 170 of those 202 yards coming in the second half. I mean, the first half, there was no ground game, there was no rhythm, there was nothing to be found there. The Falcons put up the first 10 points of the game. The Browns stormed back, responded with 10 points of their own, going into the half, having momentum. And then Atlanta, all of a sudden, the Atlanta moving company was just moving this Browns defensive line that was without Myles Garrett, without Jadeveon Clowney, some starters up front. But give credit to Atlanta, 3 for 9 on third down, and disciplined football for Arthur Smith. Just 1 penalty, an offensive face mask on Drake London for 15 yards. All in all, a very professional and clean game for ATL. So, running through some other news and notes here before we, guys, let you go and enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Maybe you're celebrating at Willie's, Taco Mac, wherever it is. Falcons picked up an earned win today, I would say. I'm not going to go full Booger McFarland mode here and say some games in the NFL are won, some are lost, right? That's just kind of weird and cliche. No, the Falcons were the better team after 60 minutes today. The Browns didn't help themselves at times, but the Falcons made them pay for it. Starting with that turnover, the forced fumble on David Njoku, cashed in for 7 points by Cordarrelle Patterson. At the end, Atlanta comes up with a big interception. Grady Jarett has a sack, back-to-back games with huge sacks at the end of the game to sort of secure-ish the win, right? Put themselves in a great position. So, all right, like the video because it worked in the last video, and if you want to keep the momentum rolling here, make sure to hit that thumbs up icon as we are going to sign off here, let you guys enjoy the rest of your day. So make sure to hit the thumbs up icon if you haven't already. Nick Roloff is perfect right now. Falcons win this one 23-20, improve to 2-2. And hey, the Saints lost. That's like a double win this Sunday.